Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm joined by
me,
Hannah, my housemate. We've lived together for ages, and we have not done any collaborations.
15th of Feb was our 2-year anniversary.
I know. God, how have we done it?
Genuinely.
Ooh, you should know who Hannah is by now. If you don't, what are you doing watching me? Hannah is over on Ladette M and has a great bookshop. I'm going to say it now. Waypoint Books. It is always linked in my video description because that's how I get most of my books, guys. So, yeah. Also, if there are books you want, Hannah's really good at getting them in. Anyway, that's not what this video is.
But it kind of is.
Well, yeah, kind of.
We're recommending you books.
Yeah. Shit, my brain
Based on lamps.
Yeah, based on lamps. Part 1 is over on Hannah's channel. Hannah is way better at this shit than I am, but that's nothing new or surprising to anybody.
It's a bit hard on you though, isn't it?
Well,
It's also, you're alright.
Sometimes. Anyway, yeah, lamps. We own way too many lamps in this house, but also not enough lamps, weirdly. Don't know, weird dichotomy. But we don't agree with the big light because neurospicy this house is.
I like it.
If a big light is on and I come downstairs and a big light is on, you know what's turning off immediately. That big light, and we're gonna turn a nice lamp on.
Play the big light dingo. Drink every time Lizzie says big light. You know what I'm telling you? That big light. If the big light's on, guess what big light is going off? Big light.
Big light. Woo! We're just gonna get people smashed if we do that. No. So yeah, we've already recommended 5 different, but I haven't recommended 5 different lamps.
We've recommended 5 lamps.
Technically, yeah. I mean, we're not wrong. You might go and buy those lamps for yourself. I mean,
we have told you where they're from.
Yeah, we have. We've been very, very open about it. But if you want to see those lamps, go over to Hannah's channel and see them. Anyway, let's go on with the fucking video. Right, Hannah, do you want to pick a lamp?
I'll go pick a lamp, shall I? I'm going to go for a big lamp.
A big one?
Big lamp.
Big boy?
Big boy. This was one of the first things I bought specifically for this house. This is the Dunelm display lamp as part of their natural history collection. The thing I love most about this is the fact that the base comes off and you can put whatever you want in the middle, and it's a proper decent size. So you really can display anything in this, and it's a really bright white lamp. So it's quite a cool light, which I quite like. A lot of our lamps.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Also enormous. I thought I'd start with my big lamp so that we could put it down soon. So Lizzie, what book did you want to recommend based on this lamp?
Okay, so a couple of things. This might seem a bit harsh.
It is, but I love it.
But this lamp is clear here. It's very functional and it's great. I fucking love this lamp. Don't say anything. This read is not on the lamp or Hannah, who's behind the lamp.
Okay.
And it's also got flowers in the moment. So I've chosen The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by B. Schwab. Now, I got this illustrated pretty edition because I like aesthetic things and this was pretty. I didn't actually enjoy this book very much. I think it got way too much hype and it was a bit of a pick-me book. So I've chosen it because it's clear, there's not much substance, it is hefty.
Transparent.
It's hefty and this book is chunky for what it is, and it was a bit boring, to be honest with you. And I think people need to remember there are better books out there. There are even better V. Schwab books out there, and I just don't think this was as good as everyone said. And if you don't know what this book is, I'm probably not going to explain it to you. And if you want to, I've linked Hannah's rant about it that she did, because I think Hannah hits the nail on the head way better than I ever could. So
I went for like 20 minutes in that wrap up.
Yeah, so if you want to know, check the link in the little card thing wherever it comes up.
Wherever it is. Wherever it lives, it's right there. Do you remember which wrap up that was?
No, I'll find it.
It was from back when I lived at home.
I know. Right, Hannah. Oh,
Okay,
what do you mean? It's really not that.
No, just be careful because that's slid that way.
It has indeed.
Now, you may have noticed that I made a real point to say it was part of the Natural History collection, the Natural History Museum collection. I'm recommending the Natural History of Dragons. Because natural history, right?
Smart.
Nice. This is a historical fiction about a woman who wants to study dragons. She is it's not England. It's a kind of alternative England. Everything about it is English. It's so very, very English, but it's almost like she wanted to mess with the history just enough that she could add dragons into it. And essentially the main character is 18 at the start of this book, where she kind of discovers dragons, and her husband, who is also super into dragons, takes her on an expedition to go and study dragons, but when they get there, the dragons are attacking people and are acting in a way that is not common to the kind of breed of dragon they are, so they start investigating it and it becomes a whole thing. And I feel like the writing style is very similar to Philip Pullman. And when I said that to Hannah Ryan from Bookworm's Feast, she was like, well, now I don't want to read it. And I was like, I'm sorry. But what I mean about that is that Philip Pullman creates a very gentle aesthetic around a familiar place. That is what this is. It feels very similar to Romania and kind of Romanian countries and Romanian culture without it actually being those places, but it has a very gentle history element to it. And I just really, really liked it. But I mainly picked it because natural history. I'm just that transparent, so
Hey.
that's what I've gone for.
Oh, so you read yourself on that as well?
Yes, I so often do.
What lamp am I going to choose?
What lamp are you going to choose?
Ooh,
What you didn't see was Lizzie twerking to themselves in the corner, and I'm sorry you didn't see that. It was worth it.
This is my oil slick psychedelic wax melt. That's what it's called. Wax melter. It is a lamp. This glows a horrendous colour, but I love it. I love it. It has got remnants of wax melt in it, because grim. But it smells nice still, so yeah. Do you want to pick
it? Smells nice. Yeah, I'll show you which book I've picked.
I've got this on Amazon, so boring.
I have gone with The Mercies. This is an ARC copy that I found in a secondhand charity bookshop. Now, the reason I've gone for The Mercies is because this has a kind of LGBT sapphic colouring to it with the pinks and yellows and oranges, and there is a sapphic romance in this. The water oil slick element of it made me think of Tears, and this is very sad. And I also like the fact that it lights up because this is about witches, and basically this is set in Norway in like the 14s or 1600s, around that time, when all the men that are in this fisherman's village go out to sea and their ship is wrecked, and basically this entire village loses like 30 men in one afternoon, leaving only the women and children. And they're fine with that. They're sad that their husbands and brothers have died, but the women just get on with shit and they continue to live and they grow crops and they take care of themselves. But the church don't like that. The church do not like that these women may deign to take care of themselves for 5 minutes on their own without a man. So they send a vicar. And the vicar is this real weedy, useless man. And he writes back to the church and says, these women are out of control, because they won't listen to him because he deserves so little respect. So it then splits to a second perspective of the wife of someone who is sent essentially as a witch hunter, and he rocks up and basically starts throwing accusations around that there are witches around, because he knows that if he finds witches it will give him the political kind of
gravitas,
yes, to kind of get ahead in his career. All the while these two women are very slowly but surely falling in love with each other, and then it has a super sad ending that I'm not going to spoil, but tears, running, streaming, nose snotty tears, hence like because the oil slick vibe. So I really like this. This is by Kieran Millward Hargrave. Again, it has sapphic, LGBT and mental health rep. It's a beautiful book. It is so sad. This was her adult debut, so if you've read The Deathless Girls or The Girl Made of Ink and Stars, you will love this because it's the adult version of those.
Yeah, and also it's Kieran Millward Hargrave, so if you get into that and don't expect to cry, then
then
you're doing something wrong.
More for you. So yes, that's what I chose for that one. Good lab.
I again went with something really different vibes. I didn't even go for colours. So I took the psychedelic
Okay.
and kind of like crazy look to it. And I'm recommending Bunny by Mona Award because this is fucking insane. It's dark academia, which this does not give dark academia vibes, I understand. I've gone more with like, you don't really know what you're getting with it. It's just kind of like, it's a wax melt.
It's a surprise.
Heat, because boys' heads explode.
Okay.
Yeah. We followed this group of, we followed this girl. Again, can't remember character names. My brain is not glued into character names. I can probably tell you. Samantha, there you go. We follow Samantha. And she goes to this college and she's in this advanced English literature program, creative writing. And it's a club, basically. And they all call each other Bunny. And she kind of has to find her way in with this fucking weird group. And way too late she realises that these people are not the people she wants to be involved with. There's kind of like weird magic stuff going on and you really never know what's actually happening and what's not happening. And I kind of was just like,
that was a vibe.
That was it. I don't know how much it fits. This might be a fail, but you tell me.
It's not a fail. I think it's a good time. I DNF'd it, but I think it's a good time.
It's a good time. Just don't go in expecting like the best literature because that's not what you're going to get, but this is a great time.
I think I was expecting it to be a great dark academia. And
no.
It really wasn't.
No, there's better dark academia. There's just more like crazy shit that goes on in this book.
This is one of Lizzie's lamps, so Lizzie might need to explain this lamp. But the vibe I get is this is all about the light bulb. The light bulb is technically, you won't be able to see it, but I'll move it in closer so you can kind of see. It is multicolored Technicolor, and it has like these little dots in it, so it creates almost like a strobe disco ball effect.
It's crazy.
But it looks like it's just going to be a standard basic bitch lamp, and then it isn't.
Apart from this might tell you it's not quite so basic. I don't know.
Well, that's quite traditional, so
maybe, but it's gold. Okay, so this book is this
lamp
is kind of deceiving, I think, because it kind of looks really normal even from here. You can kind of see that it starts to be a little bit crazy on top. So I've also chosen a book that is kind of deceiving, looks like it's going to be one thing and then it's something else. And I've chosen Isaac and the Egg by Bobby Palmer. This was recommended to me by Emma from Emma Novella. Are they still called that?
They are.
They basically told me this book was fucking weird, and that was kind of it. And I love this book so much. It is fucking weird, and I think on the outside it kind of looks like it's going to be just a normal book. You don't really think of it as being anything a bit weird. You think it might be about a guy and an egg. And it is about a guy and an egg. It is, but it's also not. The egg is not an egg, and it's fucking weird. And then actually, when you get right down to it and right at the end and you figure out what's going on, it's really fucking sad, actually. Really fucking sad. And it's just following this guy's journey, and he finds this weird thing in the middle of the woods that starts screaming, and he takes it home with him, and you're not really quite sure what the fuck that thing is. And that's kind of the point. I don't really want to say too much about it, because I really don't want to spoil it, but if you need to look up content warnings for your own good, again, go look them up, although I think they are going to be on the screen because I'm doing that now. This is a really good book, guys, and I wanted to get it in this video because it's great, and I don't think I see enough people talking about it, so
that's fun. I went for a book with a kind of similar theme, but it's more internal, as into the actual structure, where it's kind of, it looks normal and then it isn't. I went with Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Now, this is my most recent 5-star read. I adored this book. Chuck Tingle is known for writing weird erotica, neurodivergent erotica. I believe there's doors and insects and like Santa, maybe. There's a whole slew of them. They're weird.
The one that you read the pillow one, didn't he?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Anyway, this is his horror debut, and it's so good. This follows a young girl called Rose, I believe. Yeah, Rose Darling. I had to double check that. And basically, she is so pro Jesus. Jesus is a superhero to her. Her family are very in with the church. She like volunteers at the church. She's in her 20s and she's treated like a child. And it's church. And then she goes on like this expedition, and after this expedition, she vomits flies. Yeah. And she has no idea why. She can't fathom it. And she starts being stalked by this really creepy, ghostly, hideous woman tied to Rose's soul. And I'm not going to spoil as to how much that kind of becomes the whole fucking narrative, but essentially it follows a whole bunch of LGBT characters dealing with their trauma and how they've been treated for being LGBT. And Camp Damascus is a conversion therapy camp that is doing messed up stuff. So it's a really, really clever horror. If you enjoy T. Kingfisher's horrors like The Twisted Ones and The Hollow Places, you will adore this. It is very slow burn, sinister, jump scare type horror. It's not even necessarily that it's that graphic, but it's so cleverly crafted, and I really like that it has LGBT and neurodivergent rep. There's a bit in it where she breaks into her therapist's like cabinet and looks at her folder and reads through it and doesn't see anything about being autistic and the fact they're clearly autistic. And that's like a first clue to her that she's like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, because even I know that I'm autistic, is essentially like how it's very, very funny. And I think that's the thing, is it's a really good balance of things that made me laugh and scared me shitless. And it got to the point where I actually took an afternoon off work to finish this, because I was worried that if I didn't, I wouldn't pay attention to the work I was doing anyway. Like, for my own mental health, I had to finish this book. It's so good. But it is the idea that it's all kind of like plain Jane on the outside, and then pow, you know? In world razzle dazzle.
Nice.
But you'll love it because it's demonic as shit. It's so good.
We'll have a demon book.
It's so good.
Okay, so talking about things that aren't technically lamps, as Hannah said.
Yeah.
Hannah insists this is a lamp.
That's technically on. That's technically on. It's just that the batteries have died.
It's a fucking cute lamp, regardless if it works or not. It's fucking cute.
I love my little ghosty. This was from Flying Tiger. I miss Flying Tiger. I miss the crap you used to be able to buy from Flying Tiger.
It's so fucking cute though, and we do love a little ghost in this house.
We do love a little ghosty.
Are you gonna
Shall I
go?
tell you about my little ghosty
Yes.
book?
Please do. Ooh.
I've gone for The Lost Ones by Anita Frank. This is a historical fiction, paranormal, supernatural type mystery that follows a young nurse who has basically dealt with a lot of trauma in her life. She lost her husband in the First World War, and you actually find out later that not only did she lose him, he literally died in her lamp, and she he literally died in her lap, and she barely recognised him because of the wounds that he'd sustained in war. And she basically, trigger warnings for suicide, attempts suicide, and she is saved not only by one of her servants, but potentially by a ghost. She barely remembers. But after that, her sister spends a lot of time taking care of her and helping her kind of come back to herself. So when it's a few years later and her sister may have been going mad, she goes to help her sister. Her sister is pregnant and she's worried that someone is trying to hurt her and the baby. And there is a real underlying threat that if the sister is going mad, she is going to be put into an asylum. And that is used as a real threat. And if anyone knows anything about that kind of like time in history, if you were even a little bit hysterical, men were putting you in an asylum so they could take control of stuff.
So fast.
It's so manipulative, it's so clever.
I mean, look at American Horror Story,
Asylum. Yeah, exactly.
Woo.
So this is a really, really clever one because it kind of mixes the kind of cognitive psychological elements with the supernatural paranormal, where you don't really know if it is in their heads or if it is really happening. Again, it has disability rep because one of the main characters uses a crutch full time, and it has lots of mental health rep, but the ghosts in this are really cleverly crafted. Like I said, it feels like a classic Agatha Christie style murder mystery, but with ghosts, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun historical fiction, and I feel like a lot of my recommendations when it's come to these lamps have been historical fiction, considering I've not read much historical fiction this year at all. But when I do read historical fiction, it's because it's worth reading. So that's my little ghosty.
Maybe we're learning that our lamps just lend themselves to historical fiction vibes.
Maybe they do. Right. My little ghosty doesn't have a name. If you want to leave him a name in the comments below, do so. Name my ghosty.
Name that ghost! I have gone with Cold Boys Wood by Carol Birch. I read this for Hannah's book club, which is now called The Lunar Library. That is on Waypoint. It's a mystery book every single month. You don't know what you're getting. You get like context clues. I mean, there's emojis you put in there?
Yeah, emojis, and I do little descriptors and stuff. So it's not completely blind, but it's just blind enough that you shouldn't be able to guess what it is. It's just whether you'd like it or not. But it is a discounted book, and we do them every month, and then I do a live show at the end of the year discussing them.
Yep, and this was one of the first ones.
This was one of the first books I ever picked.
And I tabbed the shit out of it. I really liked it. A lot of people didn't vibe with it as much because it is quite slow. It's quite a meandering kind of story, and there's bits of it where the horror comes out of nowhere and slaps you in the face. And it's so jarring, but it also makes sense within the story, and it discusses themes of loss, grief, mental health, loneliness, isolation, and it all
suicide.
Also stems from this, basically the past and the trauma, like past trauma, and the way it discusses it is so decadent. It's very literary, and I really vibed with it, and there are so many little bits about this book, and it still makes me sad because some of the things you discover is heart-wrenching.
It's really sad.
And like the whole idea of Cold Boys Wood about returning and being comfortable in isolation is so sad. And both of like two of the main characters are old people, and I loved them so much, each for their own thing. There's an old guy in this who is horrible to everyone, but he has a whole slew of cats that live in his house, and he's so protective of them. He pretends to hate them, but he really doesn't, and that's so clear, and it's just amazing. And there's also a murder mystery in this. There's a murder, and trying to figure out what the hell happened there, and again, when you find out, that's insane.
It's so sad.
It's insane, it's sad, it's amazing.
Political?
Yeah, very political. I think if you like a murder mystery, and you like a slow burn, and you like
it's very
literary
cerebral,
fiction,
isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's one that I would recommend, but for a very certain reader. So definitely check it out if you're thinking about it. Look at the description, but be aware that it is very slow. But it is a classic ghost story. There are ghosts in it, and they are ghosts. There's also very internal ghosts too, and internal demons that are in this. So again, sad, but really, really poignant. Definitely recommend this one.
It's the last lamp.
The last melon.
I knew you would. I knew you would. I genuinely don't know where I got this lamp from. I feel like it was Tesco's or Sainsbury's. It doesn't say on the bottom. It just says for indoor use only. But I used to have 2 of these lamps, and then my cat broke it. And as you can see, I brought this lamp here and my other cat broke it. But what I really like about this is it's not quite a pineapple, but I feel like this was the first adult lamp I ever bought. It's a very structured, beautiful, contemporary lamp that wobbles. So do you want to talk about the beautiful white constructed book you've got?
So, Hannah unhauled this one to me. So, I'm gone with Burning Wood by Eleanor Catton. This was a literary book I did give 5 stars to last year. No, this year.
No, it was this year.
It's really political. It's very much about environmentalism and keeping kind of like the land clean. And it's following this group called Burnham Wood. It's obviously the title's based on the Macbeth quote, when Burnham Wood moves, something about Macbeth getting killed.
Yeah, moves Dunsinane or something like that.
It's really not that important. It's not really relevant.
It's not really. I think that's why I got so annoyed. I was expecting it to be a full-on like Shakespeare retelling, but with neo-political stuff. No,
it's not. It follows a rich millionaire who is doing some shady shit on a mountain, and it's also in New Zealand on national park land. And basically, they kill this mansion owner who's trying to sell his mansion and all the land. And Burnham Wood have basically been using the land to grow crops for like free, basically. And it's all very, very shady, and the ending is fucking wild, man. Like, it comes out of nowhere. I loved it, but fucking hell. Rich people do rich people weird, horrible shit that they get away with. And, like, the underlying kind of environmentalism message is throughout the whole thing. Like, every single page, there is something on there that is, like, no, this is wrong, this is gross, we need to keep our national parks. But it's also very much like, fuck the government, we're going to do what we want, which we love.
Fuck you, I do what you tell me.
So if you like political literary books with some pretty crazy shit that goes on at the end of a book, definitely pick this up. It's a good time. Hannah didn't like it.
It's alright.
I loved it. I think I just picked up when I needed something so different from what I had been reading. I think that also really, really helped because it is so different.
Yeah.
This is very much an adult book as well. Again though, content warnings for so many things. Why are all the books I am recommending
so traumatising?
So traumatising. Maybe that says something about me.
It does.
But 100% give this one a go if you like literary fiction because it's great. Political and environmentalism.
So, my last recommendation for you is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, because this is structured in the fact that it is a novel in verse. And I really, really liked this novel. This follows a young woman called Xiomara, who is essentially a poet, but she lives in a very Catholic Latinx household, and her brother comes out as LGBT, and she's processing a lot of internalized misogyny from her mum. She's talking about how the fact that she's almost fat shamed by her mum because she has this really curvy body, and she's very overtly sexualized and slut shamed, even though it's not her fault. It's not something she can control, but what she can control is how she reacts to things, and she kind of does that through the language that she uses. So it's a really, really beautiful, really sad really sad novel in verse, and it was one of the first books that I'd ever read by Elizabeth Acevedo. I actually read this before Clap When You Land, even though I bought Clap When You Land first. I actually read this first. This was the first one, and I thought this was so good because I had recently, just before that, read Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson, which is very, very similar. They are both about women of colour piecing themselves together through art, and there is something that really, really hit home about the mother-daughter dynamic in this for me. Not to say that the dynamic that I have with my mother is anything like this, but it was very relatable and very charming and very powerful and very poignant, and I really, really liked that. And it has very, very adult themes, even though it is handled with such delicacy and care. So yes, I love this book. It is a 5-star recommendation. I have read it every year since starting YouTube, and I have cried every time. I've read it and cried, I listened to it and cried, I read it again and cried.
Oh, the audiobook is fantastic.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Oh, so. For it. I read Clap When You Land first, but I do really enjoy the Poet X.
They're the best.
But it's really interesting actually, because I don't know if you guys have read both. Which one did you do first, and which one do you prefer? Because I prefer Clap When You Land because I read it first.
I love Clap When You Land.
But I do really enjoy Poet X, and I do think everyone should pick it up because it has so many important themes, and it is very relatable no matter what, really.
Beautiful.
Anyway,
that's it.
That's all the lamps. If you want to see Hannah's video, or thanks for coming over from there if you did. Fuck my brain. Why does this happen to me?
Like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below to let us know you were here.
Yeah, please. If you can't bother to leave a comment, just leave a little lamp emoji, bringing that back. And
stealing that from me.
as I said before, check out Waypoint Books, get yourself a book. It really, really does help Hannah and by extension me.
It helps pay our rent.
Woo! And I will see you in my next video. Thanks. Bye, guys.